And if you really think that you're spanking my behind and this, that, and the other, you're not, because I know the truth. Whether other viewers know the truth or not, I know the truth. So it doesn't really matter. I know the truth. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for you even approaching me, I would have never known who you were. And I wouldn't even give a damn fuck about Kernel Wisdom. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for you even approaching me, I would have never known who you were. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for you even approaching me, I would have never known who you were. If it wasn't for you even approaching me, I would have never known who you were.
If it wasn't for you even approaching me, I would have never known who you were.
I know the truth. And again, you still didn't even say nothing to me. If you had a problem about what I said under somebody's video, again, you could have came to me. You could have inboxed me. You know, I never said in any of my videos that you two were the same people or anything like that. But again, if you were offended by that, you should have said something to me. You never said anything to me, okay? But again, if you were offended by that, you should have said something to me. You never said anything to me, okay? But again, if you were offended by that, you should have said something to me. You never said anything to me.
You never said anything to me.
You never said anything to me. You never said anything to me. You never said anything to me.
You never said anything to me.
I know the truth. As far as me knowing that you were Kid Brother or some other channel, by the time we even interacted with each other on your other channels, I still did not see your face personally. By the time we even interacted with each other on your other channels, I still did not see your face. By the time we even interacted with each other on your other channels, I still did not see your face.
By the time we even interacted with each other on your other channels, I still did not see your face.
I know the truth. I know why you're doing it, because basically, like I said, you're fixated on me for whatever reason. My issue was with Colonel, and you decided to jump in, and when you didn't have a legit reason as to why you were jumping in, and when you didn't have a legit reason as to why you were jumping in, and when you didn't have a legit reason as to why you were jumping in,
and when you didn't have a legit reason as to why you were jumping in,
I know the truth. You said something to the degree of I still basically take swipes at you. Now, I'm not really sure what you're talking about. 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 I'm going to take a wild guess of what you may be talking about. As far as commenting or something like that, I can't recall anything that I said about you. I can't recall anything that I said about you. I can't recall anything that I said about you. I don't mix your name up in the comment. I don't mix your name up in the comment. I don't mix your name up in the comment. I don't say general yellow freak looking man. I don't use your name. I know the truth. So you basically want me to shut everything down, take all my videos about you down, but yet you said it from your own mouth that you have videos about me on different sites, private playlists, all this other stuff about me. How am I supposed to know if I take this channel down that all my stuff won't be taken down? Because I kind of see how y'all operate. Y'all like to get people to do stuff, and then when they do it, y'all make a video about it laughing pretty much. Because I kind of see how y'all operate. Y'all like to get people to do stuff, and then when they do it, y'all make a video about it laughing pretty much. Because I kind of see how y'all operate. Y'all like to get people to do stuff, and then when they do it, y'all make a video about it laughing pretty much. I know the truth. This all had stemmed from, according to them, from me not taking up for them when another YouTuber accused them of being the same person, and they said I've been perpetuating the lie. What I did was I LOL'd, I laughed at her video, and I said, this is sad. That's all I said. That's all I said. That's all I said. That's all I said. What I did was I LOL'd, I laughed at her video, and I said, this is sad.
That's all I said.
I want to know how I've been perpetuating the lie. I haven't been going around channel to channel saying, hey, they're the same people. All I did was laugh. All I did was laugh. All I did was laugh. And they said that I knew that they were separate people. I honestly could not deny or confirm if they were separate people. I honestly could not deny or confirm if they were separate people. I honestly could not deny or confirm
If they were separate people.
Neither of them showed their image. Neither of them showed their image. Neither of them showed their image. And when they finally did, it was just kernel of wisdom. And when they finally did, it was just kernel of wisdom. And when they finally did, it was just kernel of wisdom. I did not know how General Backlash looked at that time. I did not know how General Backlash looked at that time. I did not know how General Backlash looked at that time. I just found out how he looked, I believe was at the beginning of this year. He finally showed his image. The beginning of this year, he finally showed his image. He finally showed his image. The only image I saw was of his hands, and that was, I believe that was after the fact that I even, laughed on their page or,
I know the truth.
So there you just heard it for yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, straight out of the horse's ass's own mouth. Cunt Huntress admitting that she knows the truth, which in fact happens to be only one of only three, count 'em, 3 instances in this whole nearly 2-year-long whatever kind of psychotic thing this is that she's running. But in all that time of supposedly trying to put General Backlash in his place, trying to shut him up, trying to assassinate his character and make him look like the bad guy, or as she says, a different kind of crazy, to which I tried to enlighten her that if you're going to insist on going up against crazy, it's best not to go up against the kind of crazy that you don't know, because it just might be that different kind of crazy that'll end up annihilating you. Which is what I've been doing each and every time she's ever come up to me or presented her case to the public, and doing everything she possibly could to twist, distort, and change things around so that she could either come out of the whole mess looking either like them standing on the top of the mountain, or if that didn't work effectively, to make herself look like the innocent put upon victim. But either way, she wanted to keep this thing going, and going, and going, and going, to where even the Energizer Bunny considers it obnoxious, all the while claiming that she wants to bring it all to an end. And I refused to let her do that because, quite simply, as I kept pointing out, is that she's not sincere in wanting it to end. Oh yes, she does want it to end, but she wants it to end on her terms, not on the terms of honor and truth and right and justice. She wants to be able to get away with slandering someone, with harassing someone, defaming somebody, to assassinate somebody's character, and then be able to just skip away from it as though she has no mud on her hands. And that's why I refused to let this thing drop. Because if she had been sincere from the get-go, I would have long since stopped digging in her ass and burning it raw. But she wants to come out of this looking as clean as fresh fallen snow, and so she will pull the wool over everybody's eyes in order to lay that impression upon people, even though she knows that she is slimy and full of filth. And so when she declares that she knows the truth, Absolutely, she knows the truth. She knows who she is. She knows what she is. She knows what she's been doing this whole time. She knows the dirty, nasty, sneaky, conniving game that she's playing. And she knows that there are still a few people out there, just a small handful that are dwindling rapidly, but they're still out there who still believe her garbage. And so in order to get any validation whatsoever, she will continue to spread this filth, knowing full well that the real story is not being told or not being told properly in its proper context, or without certain distortions or added embellishments, not to mention with a heavy dose of slander to go along with it. See, this is the truth that she knows. But of course, that's not her intent on saying she knows the truth. When she says she knows the truth, what she's planning on is that people hearing her declare, "I know the truth," that the people who are listening to her and her BS and buying into it will interpret that as to mean, well, I can just ignore the evidence then. All this documentation that General Backlash keeps pulling up in her face, hitting back at her with her own words, both spoken and in written text form, and then digging up the timeline of events and such. Well, all of that can be conveniently ignored because tangible, documentable evidence does not qualify as truth. Only a cyber-trolling bully's declaration of knowing the truth fits the criteria of truth. But see, people with real brains, people who like to get to the meat of a matter, people who want the real story and not just rumor, not just hearsay, not just innuendo, or not just whiny crybaby tactics of, I'm a victim, please love me, love me, love me. These are the people who demand more than just somebody saying that they know the truth, and they want to see something that backs it up. And Cunt Huntress has been disappointing in that aspect, just like her namesake, 100%. She has nothing, she has provided nothing, she has nothing to offer other than talk. Oh, the one time she did actually try to use some form of documentable evidence to support her case, thinking she was going to pull another slick one on us by showing a timeline of, well, see, Colonel Wisdom has this habit of, she looks at who I subscribe to and then she goes around trolling them and then starts beef with me about them on their channel, and yeah, I know the truth. And then Colonel of Wisdom turned around and smacked your ass raw, not just with truth, but with the evidence that went along with it to support the truth. So even when she tried to appeal to tangible, presentable evidence to try to dig her ass out of the fire, she still fell flat on her fat ass. But I am so glad that she now sees the value of presenting documentable evidence in order to prove or disprove a point. Because in the final Ultimate Smackdown video, which is going to follow this one, I'm going to take that entire montage that we just listened to in this commentary, and I'm going to explode all of that out of the water. And I'm going to turn that into a day to remember for this fraud. Because when I'm done, she's going to wish and pray that she had had a time machine to go back and prevent this from the very beginning by simply not getting her ass involved with me/us. Since again, as I've said and as I've kept saying, that Cunt Huntress's problem was never with me. We may not have been buddy-buddies, but she did not start to lose her shit with General Backlash until he brought along a black woman as a tag team partner who was saying very much the same things that he himself has been saying in these online forums. But see, it was not just any black woman. It was a young, undamaged black woman. Which is why I've said continuously that Cunt Licker's hatred for Colonel of Wisdom comes from a place of cruel, bitter jealousy. Which is the same reason that many of these agenda fraud black women up in here utterly despise Colonel of Wisdom. Because as I've kept pointing out, Colonel of Wisdom has escaped all the traps and all the pitfalls that they themselves fell into, oftentimes quite willingly. And so when they hear of a young, nubile, and unspoiled black woman who relishes in happiness at her state of, I won't say purity, but let's just say lack of drama, lack of baggage, lack of frustration, totally free of all the tragedies and disappointments that so many of our black sisters find themselves having to struggle and deal with day in and day out. and yet at the same time getting highly offended at anyone who not just points that out about them and saying, look, you need to stop claiming victim status for yourself, that you need to stop validating this lifestyle, or you need to stop promoting it as something desirable and or honorable, and that you need to tell the next generation of young black women coming up to not make the same tragic mistakes that you've made, and let them know what kinds of disappointments that they will be facing if they do things the way that you had done them in your life. Use your experience as the teachable example so that they don't fall into the same pits and quagmires that you're now lamenting about being in. And give our young black sons who are coming up decent, honorable, quality black women that they can look to for marriage partners, instead of throwing up their hands and saying, F this, I'm going to go find a white girl. But see, you cannot tolerate hearing such talk coming from a black man, because that's automatically black woman bashing. So that's easy enough to cast off to the side and ignore with disgust. But when it's a black woman that comes on your doorstep saying the exact same thing, then you have to qualify it. Because see, if you ever notice, people, that these agenda fraud black women who go after women like Kernel of Wisdom for saying these things, notice that they're very selective about which black women to attack when they say the exact same things. So a young woman like Marilyn, aka Lioness Reloaded, makes commentary videos about black women's shortcomings and the things that they do to make themselves less desirable, or breaking down what it is that they do to ruin their young lives and what changes they need to make, or explaining why black men are rejecting them and pointing out the problems which make them be seen as undesirable. And yet the responses from black women are such to pressure her to stop making such videos, to fade back into the shadows, and to have her voice silenced. And yet a woman like Tora Sense, a very bright and intelligent and positive young black woman, will say the exact same things. But nobody comes out to attack her and pressures her and starts accusing her of being a black woman hater or hating herself, or you're just trolling or just trying to start pilikia, trying to gain notoriety, or whatever the excuse is at the time. And do you know why she gets such consideration, even though she's saying the exact same thing that pains these fraudulent, harpy shrew black women when another black woman essentially tells them what's real? It's because women like Tora Sense have already ruined their lives, or made the bad decisions, or made the bad choices in life. So she and women like her get treated with a hands-off policy. We don't need to go after them. We don't need to tear them and rip them apart, because her young and free life is already disrupted, see? She's not speaking from a place of joy. She's not speaking from a place of freedom and total independence and a happy, carefree life. See, she's burdened down with a baby out of wedlock. So even when she starts talking about black women don't be baby mamas, we're not going to rip her or women like her apart, because she's already down here in the bucket with the rest of us crabs. So we'll ignore her, or we'll just give her some fake platitudes and pat her on the back and talk about what a good, wonderful job you're doing talking to the sisters and trying to teach them not to do this, that, and the other, just to make yourselves look good, as if you really give a crap about black women and their condition in this life. You see, that's the difference. Mess up your life? Oh, we can give you a pass when you try to tell somebody else about how they're messing their lives up or how they might mess up their lives. But if you've lived a kind of positive life where you actually watched the steps that you were taking, that you were mindful of the people whom you associated with, that if you were determined not to get involved with the things that would eventually come back and bite you in your ass, then that's when black women label other black women public enemy number one. And that's the reason for the bitter, jealous hatred of Kernel of Wisdom and women like her, because they had enough sense not to do the things that they knew would ruin their lives later down the line. And these old shriveled up, ran through hags can't stand the reminders. And so, to alleviate themselves of all that agitation, they turn it around on the innocent sisters who never fell down those paths and say that they're the ones with the problems, or that they're not living in reality. Look at how women like Cunt Huntress label Kernel of Wisdom or try to take swipes at her. I mean, on top of all the other stuff like the mental patients and trying to divest her of her black creds by referring to her as a white woman or almost white or talking like you're white. One of the other favorite go-to tactics of black women like this, who are totally disingenuous, who hate young, positive, no baggage, no drama, not to mention attractive black women, is to challenge their sexuality. I know you're a virgin, as though that were a bad thing. The fact that Colonel of Wisdom B. Valchan was a virgin was part and parcel to the reason why so many black men would flirt with her online. So it wasn't just her brain or her outlook on life or her understanding and support of men's issues that endeared her to them. It was also the fact that she was virginal and didn't have any baby mama drama or any other kind of drama from a bunch of bad relationships with thugs, hoodlums, unmotivated, mediocre, or otherwise ne'er-do-well men. That's a rare treasure to find in the African American community sisterhood. They saw her for the rare precious gem that she was, and whether they thought they could get with her or not is irrelevant. They appreciated the fact that such a sister in this very day and age actually still manages somehow, by some stroke of a minor miracle, manages to still exist within the African American community. And they applauded her for that. And they expressed their admiration and their appreciation. And in more than a few instances, their interest. And that's what these bitter, broken, dejected, worn out, busted downs cannot stand, because they want that same sort of validation. They want those same sorts of accolades. They want that same sort of positive reinforcement and acceptance. But they can't get it because they know they shot themselves in the foot. They ruined their lives with their bad choices. And so the only thing that they've got left is to validate their bad choices and their miserable state of existence, as it turned out, or to shoot down somebody else who's a radical opposite reflection of everything that they are. You know, pretty much like what fat women do when they want to deflect men's attentions away from what they're naturally inclined to desire, which is small and svelte, by crapping on such women and then trying to brainwash the men into believing real women have curves or real women come in size 18. Only a dog wants a bone. It's that same mentality. These are just women who hate. They hate women like Colonel of Wisdom. They hate Colonel of Wisdom, and they hate me because I helped bring Colonel of Wisdom out to a wider audience. And so in their minds, I am to be held in higher disregard because I helped pull her to the spotlight, to where even her online popularity has surpassed my own, so that hers has the wider voice and the greater reach. And they cannot stand that fact, and so by natural process of extension, I likewise have to be the target of their raw, bitter hatred, which is why they will say anything and they will do anything in order to discredit me, because every chance they get to discredit me, it reflects back on her. You've seen the comments. Only a black woman who's insane would associate with General Backlash. Where do you think that comes from? Does that come from their hatred of General Backlash? As I said, I was nobody up in this thing with these heifers and hoes until I showed the world, like, look, it ain't just me, it ain't just black men. There are black women out here who keep it real. In fact, who keep it so real that they manage to keep their legs closed and not mess around with the kind of guys who would ultimately end up ruining their lives. And so in their further attempts to discredit General Backlash and or Colonel of Wisdom, they gotta keep trying to find the new thing or the latest thing. They're always looking for something that they think is going to stick. And they keep failing miserably. And when it comes to fishing, Kara's always throwing her baited hook out into the water. Never realizing though that once she snags something on her line, she's just pulling up another soggy, deteriorating boot. For instance, like when she keeps trying to run around and throwing all kinds of confusing information out about my marital status or lack thereof, putting on this pretense that I'm lying about my relationship status and all this mess, trying to claim that I said I was married, I did not, and then flipping it around and said, I knew you weren't married, I knew you were single, which I had always said. But see, she throws it out there as though it's something new, it's something fresh, it's something that she just dug up. But you know, in this case, I want to show how fair I can play, because I will take this as an opportunity to just give her a little smidgen of the benefit of the doubt, because I don't know where her confusion comes from, because had anybody just bothered to listen to me, there would be no confusion. I am not married, I am in a relationship right now which may lead to marriage, but as it stands, I have not made that commitment. You can't get any simpler than that. Ergo, by the definition of the word, when I said I have a fiancé, that means that I am not technically married, which means that I am technically single. But she wants to play this little game of confusion and supposedly gotcha. And so I said in this instance, let me give her a little speck of the benefit of the doubt. even though I'm probably giving her more of that than what's really necessary because I know what she's trying to do. But let's just say, just for the sake of the extreme rare possibility that maybe it's all just a matter of she got confused over something I had said earlier that was in reference to my previous marriage, which I have also discussed in this forum. And so, just to show that I'm a good guy and that I can play fair, let me try to alleviate some of the confusion. Here, on the left-hand side of my little photograph that I took here, is a certified copy of my marriage license. Directly to the right of that is the copy of my certificate of divorce, which means at one stage I was in a legitimate marriage. Somewhere down the line, things didn't work out, and I filed for divorce. And in each of those instances, I got these two little pieces of paper which verify those facts. So see, trying to end the confusion, trying to tell the right and proper story just in case somebody got their facts or their information wrong or misunderstood something. How so very much in contrast to agenda frauds like General Fatass, aka Cunt Huntress, who accused me of not being misinformed, but accused me of lying when I had said to her on several occasions that before you got nasty with me as General Backlash, you and I had interactions when I was still known only as Kid Brother is Watching. Now there is a legitimate and valid reason as to why I believed that was the truth at the time, and I'm going to be revealing that in the commentary upload following this one, so everybody can see where that came from. But as far as my insistence that I knew that she had interacted with me as Kid Brother, she kept throwing it back in my face as like, no, I never knew you as Kid Brother. I only knew you as General Backlash. I didn't know you as Kid Brother until I began interacting with you as General Backlash. And so I was determined to bust her in a lie. Now, just as Boomerang Effect said, General Backlash relies heavily on his screen capture software. I also rely on other sets of tools in order to make sure that I get my story right, because I did not want anybody calling me a liar. So after a great difficulty, I did manage to get deep enough into my archives and find everything that was relevant to this in order to either confirm or correct my claim. And as it turned out, Caramel 0%'s claim, according to the evidence, turned out to be true. Now see, this is the wonderful thing about having documentable evidence, because not only can you use it to support your side of the argument, it can also be used to support a challenging argument. See how that works? So by putting the onus in my lap to prove or disprove my claim that Kara and I had interacted when I only had my Kid Brother channel, I was able to verify the claim that she was making against me, which was she never interacted with me as Kid Brother prior to my General Backlash persona. But notice how she treats that. She doesn't put it out on the platter for me to say, well, hey, where's your proof? Show me the evidence. No, she just comes straight out and just say, you're a liar. No benefit of the doubt whatsoever. But despite the fact that I was falsely called a liar in this instance, her claim still turned out to be true, which makes this claim the second of only 3 times in this whole endless string of beef that she had actually said something truthful about me or about our interactions. So in this instance, based upon what I was able to uncover or not uncover in my own documents, I must stand corrected. But see, that's how fair people play. That's the difference between a person of integrity and an agenda fraud. Because agenda frauds will never admit their truth when it supports and confirms and verifies and validates the argument of somebody else whom they decided to take issue with. No such consideration at all. An agenda fraud never tells or accepts the truth when it makes their position look weak. People of honor and integrity have no such problems. We can admit our errors when we are in error. And here, I just proved that I was in error. And if you're an honest person, it's really not such a hard thing to do to admit when you're wrong. But those are the kind of sneaky, dirty, conniving games that people like Kara love to play. For instance, everybody heard her go off about how Kernel of Wisdom talked all kinds of stink about her on Queenie Fama's channel and made a video where she was calling Kara out by name and talking all sorts of bad, nasty stuff about her, pulling Queenie Fama into their beef. When in fact, what had happened was that Kernel of Wisdom made a video in response to Queen Ifama's video about immature adults who, among other things, go online and make mock channels and start passing it around and expecting just to get good chuckles out of it. And Queen Ifama essentially called that childish and immature, which is probably why Kara never even bothered to interact with Queen Ifama on this video that she's complaining about Kernel of Wisdom having interacted on. Because as soon as she did, it would have been no time at all that somebody would have called her out on it. Because essentially, Queen Ifama's talking about people just like Kara. She's doing the exact same thing. But due to her personal experiences, Kernel of Wisdom says, I want to share some of my experiences, some of the things I have to deal with from immature adults myself. And she produced this commentary video, which she submitted to Queen Ifama as a private response video. It wasn't until a couple of weeks later that Colonel decided that I want to share this with the public. But for right now, I don't want to stir up any drama with this video, so I'm going to submit it directly to Queen Ifama, tell her some of my experiences, and tell her why I appreciate this video. And yes, even though she explained in detail about some of the things that she was enduring from some of the people, nobody's name was called out, with the exception of 1.5. And I only say a half because Pure Butterfly Spirit got called out as Pure Butterball Spirit. But the only name Kernel of Wisdom ever mentioned in that whole video upload or in any text comments on Queen Ifama's video was the username Debsterism, who is also known as Ms. Heartbeat, or by her legal name, Deborah Cooper. But Colonel identified Debsterism, and that was the only person she identified directly by name. No Kara nothing or other, no I say this with this, that, or the other, no quiz every now and then. Nobody's name was mentioned. Now, if you recognized yourself from what was being described throughout that commentary, then you know how the old saying goes, if the shoe fits. And yes, we know it fit perfectly. Because yes, you knew it without you. And so did many other people who were aware of this beef stew, that it was in reference to you. But nobody's name got called, not by Kernel of Wisdom, not by anybody posting text comments. Nobody mentioned your name. And so for anybody coming in who was out of the loop, they would have had no clue as to who Kernel of Wisdom was talking about. Only the people who were in the know would actually know who Kernel of Wisdom was making reference to. But no, you saw this as just another attempt to defame Kernel of Wisdom, and so you went with that. She trying to pull Queen Ifama into our beef. Kernel of Wisdom said nothing about who was involved in the beef. She gave Queen Ifama no links to any of your videos. She didn't even so much as mention your channel name or names. So how is Queen Ifama getting pulled into the cyber beef? Can somebody please answer that question for me? But see, this is the dirty, sneaky stuff that Kara does. Just as you heard in the audio montage which preceded this commentary, where she talked about y'all try to get people to shut down their stuff or to stop doing things, and then when they go and do it, y'all just go around laughing about it. Show me one example. Show me just one example where we ever pressured anybody and told them to take their stuff down, and then once they did it, we started mocking them and laughing at them and dancing a jig in the street. I can save you the time right now because the only thing that comes even remotely the closest thing was the situation with I say this with herpes. And the only reason that skank's name is even still on my lips is because, as I said, she still has that commentary video on her other channel dissing the hell out of me. And as I've explained, the moment you frauds give me no reason to keep coming after you, then I'll have nothing to say. But that whole situation with I say this with crotch rot, nobody told her to shut her channel down. In fact, I did not want her to shut down her I say this with love channel. I didn't care if she was online or not, spreading her black man hatred all over the place. Just understand though, I reserve the right to comment on anything you have to say, but as long as you're not doing anything to slander me or defame me, then we'll be cool beans. You don't take nasty ad hominem swipes at me, I won't take any at you. Don't try to slander my name or run my character through the mud, then your ass won't get stung. So I didn't have any issues with her I say this with love channel, and I know Colonel didn't either. We just wanted our names to stop coming out of her neck. And rather than do that, when she got the ultimate pawnage, which I was not in full agreement with, but considering the hell that she made our online existences, I just chalked it up to, okay, payback's a bitch. And her response to that was to do above and beyond what we had essentially been asking her to do from the very beginning, which is just shut up about us. But she didn't have to take her channel down in order to do that. That was on her. That was her choice, her decision, for whatever her reasons were. And so when she did that, okay, yeah, so she's still going to be the butt of a joke, because it's making her look like she tucked her tail between her legs and ran like a coward, as I knew she always was, as I said from the very beginning. But I say again, that is the closest you are ever going to find to that little slimy accusation that you just made there. And so I challenge you to find any instance at all where we did what you accused us of ever doing. Let's see, this is now mid-October of 2013. If you haven't produced anything by June of 2025, then I'll just assume that you can't find anything, which of course you won't. But of course, her big thing now, which again, of course, she's swearing up and down that she's exposed Kernel of Wisdom and General Backlash, and they're busted again. Gee, isn't it amazing how so many times we keep getting busted, and yet we always seem to have a solid rebuttal to every time she supposedly busts us? As I said, any other sane person would have seen the pattern by now, and they would have given up a long time ago. But no, you want to keep making yourself look like a jackass. I'm here to oblige. So now you're running around with this big toothy mammy grin on your face, talking about, General Backlash, I know that Kernel of Wisdom channel is really your channel. Gee, how many times have I said that since the creation of the Kernel of Wisdom channel? I mean, I don't know, like since the day the Kernel of Wisdom channel was established and presented for the whole world's audience to see? I can't even recall the number of times where I have come straight out and said, yes, that is my channel. But see, the little sneaky thing that Kara's trying to do is she's trying to make it seem like, oh, it's more than just a channel that you created. You're actually logging in onto the thing, and you're actually using it to do your trolling and all this other good happy stuff.
But I do want to talk to you on your B Valken account. So, because like I said, it's already pretty much been known that you are sharing an account with your homeboy, so I wouldn't feel comfortable talking to you on that account. But I do want to talk to you on your B Valken account. So, because like I said, it's already pretty much been known that you are sharing an account with your homeboy, so I wouldn't feel comfortable talking to you on that account. Because like I said, it's already pretty much been known that you are sharing an account with your homeboy, so I wouldn't feel comfortable talking to you on that account. Because like I said, it's already pretty much been known that you are sharing an account with your homeboys.
Well, you know, sometimes it really gets frustrating just blasting these damn lies or these desperate phony accusations out of the water. But since I'm such an insufferable prick, and I happen to like this thing called consistency very much, then let's just go ahead and make Kara look more like a moron again. First, I want to start this off by showing the screenshot of Kernel of Wisdom's first ever video upload. Note the date, September 29, 2011. Got that? Keep that on the top of your memory, please, because we're going to do some more of that thing that Kara does not know how to do and still needs some proper training in knowing how to do and do properly, which is we're going to review the timeline. And for this, I'm going to go back to before the beginning. So on September 29th, 2011, Kernel of Wisdom uploads her very first video project. Kernel of Wisdom and I first began personally interacting off of the video hosting social forum sites on January 6, 2011, a full 9 months prior. And also note that our personal interactions began as Kid Brother and B Valchan, or as she was known on Generation X, B Val 1987. And also, just for added effect, considering how Kara keeps spreading the lie that Kernel of Wisdom wasn't talking about the same issues or wasn't as intensely engaging in some of the issues that she was talking about back when she was B Valchan. When B Valchan, she was just this pure, pristine, glowing, flowing butterflies and free spirits and sprites and pixies, and everything was Katy Perry and anime. B Valchan never had any opinions, and if she did, they weren't any harsh opinions. She wasn't calling anybody out on their ratchetness. She wasn't holding black women up to a spotlight and pointing out their flaws and this, that, and the other. No, that's just something that only happened when General Backlash corrupted her and she became Kernel of Wisdom. Well, seeing this little notation that I highlighted here again on our very first interaction. Quote, I now see what you guys are talking about regarding black women. The delusion, misandry, and idiocy runs deep. Close quote. And as I said, that's just one example of B-Val keeping it real. So Kara again gets busted in another one of her classic lies. But see, I think I know why she's promoting this idea that B-Val was a much more palatable woman back when she was associating with her as B-Val. Because when Kara was trying to be buddies with B-Val, it reeked suspiciously of trying to rub up against her, let's say. Because we already know Kara's habit, and in fact, a number of people who have dropped out of her camp have pretty much confirmed this. Even a few people who are still in her camp, or who are at least still on good terms with her, are either verifying it, or you see examples of it. And I'm just going to come right out and say it. I think Kara is reminiscing about how nice of a person she thought B-Val was, because at the time that she was trying to schmooze up the B-Val, I think it was part of laying the groundwork for cyber flirting with her. Yes, I said it. And not just because I said it, but because several others have said likewise. Several women who have been the objects of Kara's cyber flirtations. They've either acknowledged it, or we see examples of it. And I believe this is what was happening when she was brushing up against B-Val, which is also part of the reason why I believe that Kara went into a bitter, vicious rage against Colonel of Wisdom, because I've already said it's about jealousy, given the fact that Colonel did not ruin her life. But there just may also be an undertone of disappointment that B-Val/Colonel chose to establish a strong cyber friendship with a man, and a black man at that. Ooh, how dare she! I also have another reason for believing this, based upon something Colonel actually told me very recently, which she noticed, which was when Kara was pointing out this whole little routine about how Colonel was supposedly stalking her and trying to start beef with all these different people. Everybody that Kara had named as far as the people that Colonel of Wisdom was supposedly stalking just so that she could harass Kara's fat ass, they all turned out to be women, with the exception of one man who happened to be homosexual. No straight men who associated or promoted Kara were ever mentioned by her, despite the fact that Colonel had interactions with them as well. Sounds awfully suspicious, don't you think? But anyway, let's get back on track. So here was my very first interaction with Colonel of Wisdom before she became Colonel of Wisdom. So I want everyone to note the fact of who she was at the time, B-Val-chan, who she was engaging with at the time, Kid Brother, and the date which started our personal interactions, which was January 6, 2011. Because we're going to jump ahead a little bit now, and we're going to show you something remarkable. And that's this. My very first upload as General Backlash. I began personally engaging with Colonel of Wisdom when she was B-Val-chan at the start of January 2011, when I was still Kid Brother. I did not adopt the General Backlash persona until a full month later, on February 8th, 2011. New name, new channel, new attitude. Actually, old attitude, but I felt that I needed a third channel to distinguish it from the other two channels I had already had established at this time, which were Kid Brother is Watching and New Talented 10th. I wanted something a little grittier, a little more raw, and a bit more casual. So stick with me now. General Backlash's very first video upload came on the same date that he had established his channel, February 8, 2011. Colonel of Wisdom's very first video upload published September 29, 2011. Now let's look at the interesting thing that took place in between those two uploads. I had Colonel of Wisdom dig this out of her archives. So take note. I am now interacting with B-Val-chan exclusively as General Backlash. So while we were interacting online in video forums on a hosting site called YouTube, which is now dead and gone, the only time that I would interact with her as Kid Brother would be those few accidental times when I was responding to her or making a comment to her about some comment that she left on the Kid Brother channel, or I was on the Kid Brother channel or something, and I responded to her comment on somebody else's channel or whatever it was, because once I established General Backlash, I wanted to keep things consistent. So I didn't want to come across as two different personalities per se, so that any comments that were left on my Kid Brother channel, I would always respond directly from my General Backlash account, just to let the connection be known that this is me, I'm the same person. And it took a while for a lot of people to get that. because I used to get hit all the time with, why the hell are you stepping up into this? Why don't you take your ass out of here? I wasn't talking to you. Yes, you were. And of course, the New Talented 10th channel being as radically different from the other two channels as it was, I had no problems responding to situations that took place on New Talented 10th from New Talented 10th. So the only exception I made was with the two flagship channels. Anything that happened between those two channels, I would always interact as General Backlash, except in those instances where I made a mistake. And depending on my mood at the time, I would either just chalk it up to, oh, well, I just messed up and I don't feel like bothering with it, or I would delete the comment and then repost the comment under General Backlash. Again, consistency. That's what I like. So here's a comment that I made back in reply to one of her comments that she had left on my video about Akat. And notice that B-Val and I had strong differences of opinions about this woman. And we still do to this very day. So the next time anybody wants to come up with this whole, well, they're the same person, or they say the exact same things, or they write the exact same way so they're the same person, call their attention to this, which shows just one of several different instances where B-Val/Colonel and I have not seen eye to eye. We've even managed to get pissed at each other on rare occasions. But you see, unlike Kara and the way she interacts with people who are in her camp, or who she tries to keep in her camp, real friends don't stab their friends in the back when you have a disagreement, or you don't like their position about something, or they associate with people that you don't like. But that comment was made almost 2 months later after my first uploaded video as General Backlash. So now let's just skip the whole boring entree of meat and potatoes and vegetables and go diving right into the dessert. Remember, keep my dates in mind, because these next shots right here are going to shut down Kara's latest lies. But here it is, plain and pure as spring water. Dated September 18, 2011. This email sent to the woman still known online at this time as B-Val or B-Val-chan. Quote, "The setup for everything associated with the XO page is ready for your approval." Close quote. I then go on to say, quote, "You'll find an email message sent to you from my General Backlash associated email account entitled The Start of Something New, which will include all the basic files, tips, links, and access passwords to help you take full ownership of the material related to the new online persona." Close quote. Again, that was September 18, 2011. The very next day, September 19th, 2011, B-Val-chan officially accepts and adopts her new online persona as Colonel of Wisdom after being sent this follow-up email. Quote, "The raw basics for what you will need to begin taking control are all here in this email message. Find attached with this message the introductory upload raw video file, designer avatar image, and splash card project screen image." Unquote. And note near the bottom, highlighted in red, what this was in relation to. www.youtube.com/Colonel of Wisdom, preceding which I gave indication that she was to be granted full access and was given a temporary password in order to access that page, after which she was encouraged to provide her own password so as to protect it from prying eyes or manipulation, including my own. And on September 19th, 2011, B-Val-chan began using the channel Colonel of Wisdom, originally for what she had already been doing as B-Val-chan, to make text comments. And a number of people who are very familiar with B-Val-chan and her style of writing recognize the similarities, the real similarities, unlike the fabricated ones that I Say This With Herpes tried to throw out there. But people who really knew B-Val-chan had to stop and ask this Colonel of Wisdom person, "Hey, are you this person?" As Marcus in HD did here a month later, to which Colonel confirmed that yes, she was indeed B-Val-chan. And notice what B-Val, now Colonel of Wisdom, says about this channel. Quote, "Backlash set up the Colonel of Wisdom account for me because he liked the way that I argued and wanted me to start sharing that in audio form, unquote. And dropping down to the bottom of the message, quote, I haven't been motivated to make any videos like that lately, but I wanted to get some use out of the new channel since he was nice enough to make it for me, close quote. Notice who the channel was made for. Wasn't made for General Backlash. It wasn't made for General Backlash and B. Valchan. It was made for B. Valchan, period. In other words, it's her channel. It was always her channel from the moment that she agreed to accept it. Well, what about that Wisdom Backlash channel then? You set that thing up just to use that as a troll channel, and you were trolling from that channel, and you wanted to use that and keep that up there, and... Well, okay, let's just go ahead and look at that little needling detail called a timeline again. The first and only video ever uploaded to Wisdom Backlash was posted September 22, 2013. But how far back does this channel go? Well, here you go. Join date May 9th, 2012. That's an awful long time for a channel to be sitting doing nothing when supposedly it's a troll channel. But you want to see the even more interesting part about this? An email that I had Colonel pulled up from her personal email account, dated March 19, 2012. This was one of the emails that I had sent to Colonel where I was losing my composure because of the fact that she allowed these frauds to bait her into exposing herself online. And in this email that I sent to her, I stated the following, quote, you were still trying to defend your decision to throw yourself out there like that without consulting with me first. I'm going to pause right there just briefly because, again, why would anybody need to consult me from a different channel if it's already my channel that I have full control or access over? I don't know, I'm holding my head and I'm getting dizzy again. Logic bombs. Those things do work a number on my brain cells, I'm telling you. But anyway, let me go ahead and start afresh. Quote, you were still trying to defend your decision to throw yourself out there like that without consulting with me first to see if there was another way that we could have addressed her BS. And there were several effective ways which came to mind. One of which, including the plan to present you with the idea of us possibly setting up a joint side channel together, where we could do things like recorded telephone conversations, etc., unquote. So let's replay. On September 22nd, 2013, I uploaded a video project to a channel that had been established in May of 2012, a channel whose creation was envisioned going as far back as mid-March 2012. So around the time of February or March 2012, I had already had the idea for the Wisdom Backlash channel, but it was not until May of 2012 that I established the channel. Even though prior to establishing the channel, I kept bringing the idea up to Colonel of Wisdom and saying, hey, would you like to do this? And she kept smacking it down, saying no, she didn't want to do that. But despite her protestations, I went ahead and I established the channel anyway, in hopes that maybe after a while I could keep bringing the idea up to her, which I still do to this very day, trying to encourage her, hey, why don't we try this? You know, we already do our own things on our own channels, but how about maybe every once in a while we come together and actually do something together, and we already have a channel set up and established for those types of projects. I'm still hopeful that she might actually agree to do that one of these days, but to date, this is the closest that she's ever agreed to actually doing something like that. And the only reason I thought about putting it up on Wisdom Backlash is because I thought it was appropriate on that channel, because for all intents and purposes, it was indeed a collaboration project. Her commentary and select screenshots, my multimedia presentation. But this is the closest that we've ever gotten, probably the closest we're ever going to get as far as doing joint projects together on this channel, because to this day, she still does not like the idea. And all I can do in the meantime is respect that until I can either convince her to actually try it, or she changes her mind and says, hey, I'd like to go ahead and try it. But until then, that's the only reason that this channel even exists. It's lying in wait, as it always has been. So much so, in fact, that I have now twice forgotten the password to access this channel. So just another example of how the fraud Kara just keeps opening her mouth, keeps running her mouth, keeps thinking that she's catching somebody on something or exposing somebody on something or other, only to find herself getting knocked flat on her fat ass again. That's what I mean. The bloated witch just does not learn when enough is enough. She is so determined to try to weasel her way out of this mess on her terms, trying to put herself in the best of light, that she just refuses to acknowledge when the battle is already over. I mean, she's like that Japanese man who is still running and hiding up into the jungles of the Philippines because he refused to allow himself to be convinced that World War II was already over and done with. Your side lost. Come out of the forest like a wild man, face and accept reality, and get on with your life. And that's exactly how Kara is coming across, with this endless cycle of trying and attempting to just make this thing bigger than it really needs to be, and trying to satisfy some urge to make herself look like the good guy, when the longer that this keeps going on, the more credibility she loses, and the more people who keep coming across her, even including people who are strong within her ranks, are beginning to see the hopeless cause that she is, and they're turning their backs on her. They're dropping off and leaving her to herself, and she still doesn't get it. Well, I'm going to make sure that she does get it, because I'm tired of going through all this rigmarole, essentially just smacking her ass endlessly upon endlessly, and seeing absolutely no end in sight with it, because this witch will not let it end, despite what she says. So I'm going to take the initiative, and I'm going to bring it to an end. But she's not going to like the way it's going to end, because in my follow-up commentary, I am going to totally obliterate her. See, I'm going to pull up the stuff that she thinks I forgot about. I don't know, I don't care, it doesn't matter. It's still going to expose her hypocrisy, as well as her hateful, spiteful jealousies. Because I tried to tell her from the very beginning to leave it alone while she had a chance, because she did not know what I had in my arsenal. Now she wants to find out. Now I'm going to fire everything that I have against her. The real hardcore stuff now. And keep in mind, I'm going to do it the exact same way that I've always been doing it, by using her own momentum against her, to where she ends up crippling herself. And when I say she's not going to like this next upcoming video expose, I mean that sincerely, because when I upload the follow-up commentary that really exposes her ass and her fraudulent, hypocritical ass, she's really going to have reason to hate General Backlash. And this time, she won't even need the convenient excuse of Kernel of Wisdom being at my side to be her motivation. This time, I'm going to give her all the motivation to come at me, to focus her intense, atomic, volatile hate against me, the General, directly. Because throughout this whole thing, she kept supplying me with all the tools that I would ever need to utterly annihilate her. So when I come back in my follow-up, ye shall know the truth, and her truth will set me free. Put on 3 layers of depends, Kara, because I'm about to make you piss and shit your pants. End of line for now, until I return.